I'm here today with Jeff Futers, the Executive Director of an organization called First Century Foundations. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, it is my privilege to be able to be a part of this. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, First Century Foundations. What is that organization what is it all about, and what do you do?
We are an organization that was founded probably 35 years or so ago by a gentleman named Clyde Williamson. And Clyde had a passion to connect with ministries in the land of Israel. And over that time, he has developed a number of relationships with leaders there on the ground. And the passion, the heart, is for prayer for ministries in the land of Israel, as well as, after a while, people prayed and they wanted to do something. And so Clyde and Marion began to facilitate that kind of ministry to messianic and believing ministries there on the ground in Israel.
Oh, that's awesome. And so, but you personally, why are you so passionate about the nation of Israel and its people?
Well, I really wasn't all that passionate, I'll be honest. I was probably 20 years in pastoral ministry before I finally was talked into, convinced to travel to the land of Israel. And it was my dad really who wore me down. And finally my wife who said, you really should go and do this trip with your dad. So I went. Like many pastors, I preached every week, from the Bible. I mentioned Israel multiple times, but never really thought about it in any other context except as kind of a precursor to the church, So I got there, and that all changed. I felt something when I was in the land. It was 2006, my first trip. And I decided that this was something I needed to pay attention to. And as we, when I first arrived, I felt, at home almost. I felt safe. I felt secure. I didn't know how to feel, going in. But when I got there, I thought, man, this is something I need to investigate. And then we began to travel to all the sites and see the things, the places where Jesus had done all of these amazing things. And it gripped my heart. And so that's...
Yeah. Well, I know how you feel, because I remember I've been there a few times myself, and there is something about standing in the place where Jesus stood.
Absolutely.
And you can actually visualize it and feel, like you said, you articulate it really well, you feel it. So how has it actually impacted you? So you've been there, I'm guessing, a few times now, and you've been a part of that work, and you've filmed some documentaries there. Well, how has it impacted you personally?
So for me personally, my second trip back, I actually had what can only be described as a very personal spiritual encounter where God just spoke to my heart about the future in the sense of my future. And I remember going back to the hotel. My wife wasn't with me that evening. It happened in the prayer tower at King of Kings. And I went back to the hotel and I said to her, she said, how'd it go? And I said, well, I'm not really sure yet how to articulate it, but something happened tonight, and it has something to do with us and our ministry connected to this land, to the land of Israel. And that was 2008. We went back home, pastored for another 8 years, never really thought a lot about it. We would talk about maybe retirement. We'd go back and volunteer in the Garden Tomb or, something like that. And then in 2016, this call came, and I was forced to reckon with the idea of leaving pastoral ministry and giving our lives full time to help ministries in the land of Israel. And God really called us to do that, like very, very specifically. And I remember I was dragging my heels a little bit even in the process. And my wife finally said to me one day, she said, you remember, right? You remember what you told me about our ministry in the land of Israel? She said, so I'm really not sure. What's taking you so long? This is it. And so here we are. Our wives are very wise.
Yeah, they are. We should listen more.
We should.
Definitely listen more. I'm curious, because there's a lot of sites that really impacted me, but is there one site in particular that was really impactful as you stood there, and why? I know a lot of people have different stories about the nation of Israel and their own experience, but what was one experience that you think, wow, that was like life-changing?
Oh, I hate this question. I love asking it of other people, but to try and find one for myself. I mean, are you talking about the first trip or in all my trips?
Any trip.
In the first trip, it was many sites that had an impact. Recently, I was able to travel into Judea and Samaria, and we visited the site at Shiloh, where the tabernacle stood for 369 years. And being there and talking to the guide and, understanding the archaeological basis for believing that this is the spot, and then sort of getting that moment where you think, wow, like the Ark of the Covenant stood over there just a few meters away for over 300 years. This is the place where, God's presence dwelt. That was a pretty hair-raising moment for me. And even talking about it today, kind of the hair stand up a little bit on the back of my neck. It's an incredible place.
Well, and I agree with you. I love the fact that you can stand in places that prove that the stories you read in the Bible are accurate and reliable. Yes. They actually happened. And I think sometimes it's easy for us to kind of see the Bible as something that happened kind of in a different realm, a different space, but the real people with real problems who wrestled with a real God and found victory. I love that part of it. Okay, so just one last question in this section. What then has been maybe the most challenging thing to you as you've been working in the nation of Israel?
Well, when we initially made the jump from pastoral ministry, I moved from a team in Mississauga of about 20 staff. We had 8 or 9, 10 pastors and admin team, and I went to a home office all by myself. It was me and the dog. So that was one of the initial challenges, was kind of getting over the idea of that sort of change and transition. But it's been a wonderful transition, and we honor the past and everything that's been done. It's been an amazing time. Other than that,
it's been great.
I love it. This is what God asked me to do, and we get up and we relish it every day. We really do.
That's awesome. And I hope if you're watching, you're encouraged with the reality that we've seen it. It really is there, and it really does matter. And so we're going to be back in just a moment to talk more about some of the things that you've seen, experienced, and how they apply to our lives. Stay tuned.